is something powerful that is breathing through us. I mean, she is breathing through us right now. So I really loved what you said there. And for me, that's very important. And there was something else that you said. Wait, oh, yes. That why is it important to achieve the kingdom here? I loved that question that you asked. And this is going to go away, you know. We're here today, we're not tomorrow. But when we attain at least the vision or the presence or the energy of that kingdom, everything changes in our life. And I feel it's like that presence of the Holy Spirit that is inside of everything. When you recognize it, you recognize the Holy Spirit in the drum, in the breath, in the tea, in the food, in the animals, and the trees. That presence becomes so strong that you actually, your whole life changes, and you start to become Christed, you know.
It's an embodiment. It's like being a holy vessel, a chalice, and filling yourself up with Holy Spirit, and then walking around everywhere you go, shining that light upon others to assist them in their transformation, and to be the light for others to follow. But you know, my teacher always used to say, if you haven't realized it yourself, then you can't give it.
Yes.
So the first humanitarian effort for us all is to achieve something spiritually, is to have a divine vision, to search for it and to have one. And once you hook yourself into that kingdom, and you have even just the smallest vision of it, or the smallest connection with God and Goddess, with eternality, then everywhere you go, you emanate their light from their world, and your energy becomes addictive to other people, because they see, oh, she's got something that I don't have. I want what she has, because she's got this sweet energy that she's carrying around in her chalice. And so, you know, so let me just talk a little bit more about the gospel, because I have it up here on my screen, and it is just so beautiful. So here is, these are the teachings of Yesu while he is having a conversation with Mary Magdalene in the Gospel of Mary, where he's now giving instructions on how to cross from this world into eternity. So here is what he says. In crossing the first bridge from material to eternal, faith and yearning are necessitated. Here the soul relinquishes its power of resistance obediently by the strength and power of divine love, compelled to yield to the refuge which is offered amid their sorrows. They pass from long-deferred deliverance unto the possession of glory, but that is only the first bridge. The second bridge is crossed when the feeling of despair in this world, like a gift, is given unto us. Consoled in our bitter solitude, we pass over material desires which, like chains, have possessed us. Triumphing over that which before tormented us, here the mysteries of the Spirit are revealed. Only then, upon our completion of such trials, may we approach the third bridge to face our own willful ignorance, our refusal of submission to that which we know in our heart to be good for our spirit. So this is a perfect example of how addictions keep us bound to this world, because it's a refusal to submit, to give up those things which we know are bad for our spirit. And these things cause us to suffer. It's not that we're preaching to people, telling people, you're a bad person, you shouldn't be sinning. Well, who's the person who's suffering? If you do something of your lower nature due to your habit and addiction, then you're the one who's suffering. It's nobody else around you who's suffering. It's you're the one who's ultimately going to suffer. This point of surrender adorns us with sweet assurance, and its reward is tremendous relief for the living soul. Such solace hails a great blessing, for it breaks down our vanity and our pride entirely. Next, the master taught me of the fourth crossing, which is where our enslavement to the body lies. Here we find ourselves still infatuated with selfishness, dominated by inclinations which untethered have enslaved us we lack discrimination to do the right thing at any given time. And at this juncture, the strength of the eternal spirit within unchains and unbinds us. But without the unloosening of these tethers to the material, the kingdom remains lost to us, and lethal jealousy possesses us in its darkest of shadows, and this drives the soul to abandon everything that consoles them in the sacredness of pious living. So here Yeshu is teaching us that this unbinding and this unchaining of the spirit from matter, it's not that we're denying that we have physical bodies and we have desires and we have senses. Of course, we know we have these things, but this is not the, it's not the finality of who we actually are. We haven't just come here to just enjoy through our eyes, enjoy through our ears, through our mouth, through our touch, through our sexuality. There is something more going on here than that. And once we can, you know, I did a practice this morning when I went for a walk, where as I'm walking, I'm telling myself, I am a spirit, I am a soul driving this body, just like you would if you got into your car and turned your car on and drove to the local supermarket. So we see it as a vehicle for our soul to become transcendent. And once we realize who we really are, separate from this false ego, this misunderstanding of who we really are, then we can live in this transcendent vision. And living from a place of transcendence is peace. It's love. Everywhere you go, you see love, you see goodness, you feel goodness, you are compassionate. You live and breathe this divine love in all of your actions. And this is why people like Yeshu came to this earth, and Mary Magdalene, and so many saints and prophets in history. They're all teaching this way of living. And it begins with our understanding of who we actually are. What is our nature? We are not just this car that we're driving. We are something, we are made of eternality. So this is just such incredibly beautiful teachings out of the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. And, you know, when I sat with the Gospel, I sat with it for about 5 years. And like you said, Anna, I literally would read two sentences and sit with it for a few days to try to understand what is it that has been lost in translation, in time. There are pieces missing, there are pages missing out of the Gospel. And I really wanted to fill in the gaps, not from my own ego, oh, I can write what Mary Magdalene wants to say, but what does divinity have to download through this vehicle that I'm walking through for the benefit of others, to fill in these gaps that were missing. So after about 5 years, all my notes were compiled and then written into my book, Woman in Red, Magdalene Speaks. And the Gospel of Mary Magdalene is revealed there in its complete state. And I'm so happy to have been a part of that experience. It transformed me, it has changed me, and I will never go back. And whenever somebody tells me that they're about to start reading my book, I'm always so excited, because I know the outcome will be, they will never be the same again. There is no way you can read my book and not be transformed and changed on some level of your being, even if you don't have a lot of sukriti, which is spiritual bank account points from previous lifetimes, where you have a thick ability to absorb and understand spiritual knowledge and wisdom from the scriptures or from wherever. Even somebody just starting out baby steps in spiritual life, when they read this, they will be transformed by something in the book.